You guys should know by now that I am actually a pretty big fan of aramid fiber cases for smartphones. They are very, very thin. They actually provide a surprising amount of protection for something that is this thin, because aramid fiber, if you don't know, this is stuff that like the military uses for like bulletproofing and stuff like that. So while it's not going to provide shock absorption, it does provide a little bit of grip and definitely a little bit of protection as well. The last case that I looked at for the Z Fold 6 was this case from the kind people over there at Thinborn. They did send this over for me to review, and I did give it a fairly favorable review. Now, keep in mind, quite a few people said, well, $89.98 for something like this seemed very expensive. But for those that don't know, guys, aramid fiber is expensive, but when you have 600D aramid fiber, it's not going to be cheap. Yes, I know you can go on AliExpress and find a $20 aramid fiber case, but it's not going to be the same quality as something that is 600D. I also want to point out to you that yes, it is $89.98, but there is a promo code in the description down below, should be on the screen as well, that will help you save 15%. So it does bring your price down just a little bit from that admittedly high price point. They use this stuff in the aerospace industry. I believe they use it in the military as well. Like, this is high quality stuff. But today, we're going to be looking at another case that is similar to this. We're going to see how similar it is, and it's actually a little bit more inexpensive, a little bit cheaper. This is the Pitaka aramid fiber case for the Z Fold 6. As you can see, this thing does have MagSafe compatibility, which is a very, very nice feature, but I must point out that it is 1500D aramid fiber, which is actually lower in quality to the 600D that you have here from Thinborn. That lower number actually does signify a higher quality. Keep in mind, though, if you go to the black version, it is actually 600D, apparently. But if you switch to the colored versions, which is what I have the Sunset variant, it is 1500D. So maybe you're kind of deciding between those two. The 600D variant is actually cheaper than the colored one, so I'm not really sure what to make of that, but it's definitely something to keep in mind. But all that being said, I have the Pitaka case here. We're going to unbox it and see how it stacks up to the Thinborn case. Alright, so I've got my Z Fold 6 here with the Thinborn aramid fiber case, which is, like I probably already mentioned, I think around 90. And then we have this Pitaka case, which is very similar, but it does have a different style on it, obviously, and it is about $30 cheaper, and a lot of these specifications are the same: slim profile, MagSafe compatibility, and like obviously you can tell, it's also aramid fiber. Of course, there are different sorts of aramid fibers out there. The tightness of the weave and all these sorts of things apparently do matter. Let's pull this open, and you can get your first look at the case itself, and you can see how those fibers are interweaved. Let me also show you on this that there's this sort of like metal ring around the camera section, which is, I think, a nice additional little flourish. Let's get that out of there, and you can see that it is indeed MagSafe compatible. There is your magnet sitting right there. And this is interesting. So I've actually had some issues with a lot of foldable cases with this little front bit just never wanting to stay on. It's so thin, there's just not much to grab onto, and even with adhesive, it never really works right. So I've actually been using the Thinborn case like this, and it looks like the Pitaka case just doesn't even bother giving you a front piece, because I imagine they probably run into the same issue where it just doesn't really want to stick anyway. So let's pop the Thinborn one off, and we'll kind of compare the two. One thing that I want to kind of draw your attention to is like the size of each individual thread. Can you tell a difference there? Let's zoom in slightly so that I'm still in focus. It does look like the Thinborn is using finer threads, like finer individual threads of the fiber, which in theory should make it more durable. But there's not a colossal difference as far as that goes. What about in the overall flexibility? They're obviously both very, very thin, so they're going to both flex a little bit. And I'd say that is actually very, very similar. They both do have your MagSafe, and you can see how they're both doing adhesive. You have two strips here, and then actually that is it. They don't have any more adhesive anywhere in this one, whereas this just has this one long strip. So very, very similar approach to that as well. We sort of have this raised area of aramid fiber versus the little metal ring. Let's see how it actually looks on the device. Of course, my device is the pink version, so this is, really, accentuating sort of these almost pinkish colored, I guess that's more brown than anything, but you can kind of see what I mean. I think that looks pretty good, and it snapped into place just fine. And we actually do have a little MagSafe accessory to look at as well. As you can see here, just a little ring that will attach to the back. And it says Sunset on there. Let's see how well that attaches. That is definitely more than strong enough to hold on to the device. And then you could probably use that kind of like a kickstand. What if you're in this position here? Yeah, you could absolutely use that as a kickstand. So that is a nice little value add as well. And of course, it will work on this one also, and that is very, very strong. So no issues with the MagSafe on either one in terms of using accessories like this. Speaking of accessories, this is actually pretty interesting. So with the Pitaka case, I'm sitting on my Pixel Stand 2, and I know that this is not a Pixel, but the wireless charging still works just fine. And as you can see here, it is functioning just fine, whereas with the case from Thinborn, this does not work. We've switched over to the Thinborn case, and as you can see, we are still on the stand, but we are having some sort of an error. There's something about the placement of the MagSafe ring, or something like that prevents this wireless charger from working. I will say that the Pitaka case does have a slightly, it's really close, maybe a slightly like lumpier feel, if that makes any sense. And it's not lumpy, okay, but like if you rub against it, you can feel where those fibers are a little bit bigger. So while they both do feel very similar and they have that sort of like soft touch, almost kind of grippy feeling that all Aramid fiber cases have, that one does feel a little bit different. I actually just noticed that on this one, we have a little cutout here for a microphone, and I don't think we have such a cutout on this Pitaka case. The reason that's there, like I just said, is because there's a microphone there. It's going to be difficult to see. Maybe you can. There's a little hole there that is some kind of a microphone, and it appears as though the Pitaka case has sort of ignored that to some degree, or completely. So how much of a difference that's going to make to that microphone performance, maybe that's something that I can try to test. So since that microphone is pointed in this direction, what I'm doing is I'm filming with my Z Fold 6 using that cover display, and so basically, if my audio sounds okay, you don't hear any like obvious degradation, this is probably something you can mostly just ignore. So guys, I think I'm actually more impressed than I thought I was going to be. This styling in particular, I wasn't sure how I felt about it, but the more I look at it, the more time I'm spending with it, the more I think it looks pretty good, in particular with the pink device that I have. I will give you a couple of quick notes though when it comes to these devices. You may be wondering, what's the difference between these two for $20 or $30? And basically, what I'm going to point out to you is it's going to be quality control as far as I can tell. When we look at the reviews for the Pitaka case here on Amazon, let's go to 1 star, and we're going to kind of sort through these a little bit. So several of them are complaining that there is only the back side. So that is something you absolutely have to keep in mind. If you want the front little bit there, this does not have that at all. So that's getting it some low reviews, which is kind of strange to me because you should have known this going in. Don't buy the thing and then give it a poor review because it doesn't have the thing that it never told you that it had. But like, this is a weird one. Like, someone evidently got sent a case that wasn't an Aramid fiber case. That's a little bit weird. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. This person said that their case was bent when it came in, and that gave them, or they gave it a poor review because of that. And then I must also sort of remind you that when the Pixel Fold came out, I actually got a case from Pitaka for the Pixel Fold, and it did have some problems as well. I had that front piece, and when you opened it, the two halves would rub together, and it would make this kind of like squeaking sound, and they ended up actually discontinuing that case, and they never brought it back. So that would be my biggest warning to you is, look, if you want to order this one from Pitaka, I say go ahead because it does seem very, very solid. Keep in mind, you do have a return policy through Amazon. So if you have any sorts of issues with it, just send the thing back. If you want something that, I feel like in my experience, every case I've gotten from them has been high quality, no issues, and they get very, very good reviews because of this. Thinborn is probably your safer option when it comes to that kind of stuff. Just something to keep in mind. But overall, I think this is a pretty solid case, and I do want to say thanks to Pitaka for sending it out for me to review. As with all of my reviews, they are seeing this video at the exact same time as you are. No money has changed hands for the production of this review, and these are my honest thoughts. I will put a link in the description to the Pitaka case as well as the Thinborn case and the review of the Thinborn case. If you click my link and use my link and make a purchase of either one of these, I will earn commission from that. And I do also want to remind you that I do have a 15% off coupon code for the Thinborn case as well that will bring that price much more into parity between the two. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one, and until next time, stay nerdy, my friends.